This is the story of Finn and the Red Woman. The Fianna had crossed Ireland to go hunting in Glen Small. They made their camp, they sat round the fire telling stories, singing, drinking, telling old tales of hunts gone by, and then they slept, and in the morning, the early morning, as the sun was rising over the forest, the birds singing, they set out on their hunt. And they had not gone far. They had not gone far into the awakening day when they heard a rustling in the bushes ahead of them, and then from out of the bushes there burst the strangest creature any of them had ever seen. It had the body of a deer, it had the head of a boar, it had the feet of a man, and it had two long straight tusks. In each of its flanks it bore a crescent moon that cast dancing beams of light across the dawn. For a moment it stood there and it looked at them, and they stared at it, and then it was off, and they looked after it, and then more sound, crashing, breaking, and then into the clearing there came a red woman. Her skin was red, her hair was red, her eyes were red, her teeth was red, her clothes were red, everything was red. And she stopped and she looked around at them, and she said, "I am on the trail of the beast. I can see in your eyes that you have seen it. Which way did it go?" And Finn, leader of the Fianna, he stepped up and he said, "That way. But let me explain to you. We are the Fianna. I am Finn McCool, and if there's hunting to be done here, we are the ones to do it." "Step aside," she said. "I am on this hunt." "The thing is, step aside," she said. "I am bound to catch this beast. I am bound to chase it. If I do not keep going, if I do not keep up behind it, if I am not there when it reaches the end of its path, the life of myself and my sons will be forfeit. So step aside." Finn drew breath, and then before he could even speak, she spoke. Sinuous, quick, strange, magical words, and she was no longer a woman, she was a serpent, a gigantic red serpent, its coils as thick as an oak tree, and it wrapped Finn in its coils. Bran and Skull and his hounds came rushing up, and it flicked them away, crushed Finn's bones, squeezed them, and then let him go. "Very well," she said. "If you can keep up, join the hunt." Off she went, and the Fianna looked at one another, and the hunt was on. All that day they followed the Red Woman, and they followed the beast through the forest. Their hearts were pounding like drums, they were pouring with sweat, and each man reached a point where on any other hunt he would have given up, but no, not on this hunt. On they went, Bran and Skull and Finn's hounds, barking and baying and urging them on. On and on they went as the sun rose, as the sun fell, and as this day darkened, as the sky dimmed. All of them again reached a point where they thought, no, we can't carry on with this. Are we going to carry on with this? Is Finn going to call off the hunt? But no, the sky darkened and the sky lit up again. For those twin crescent moons on the beast's flanks lit up the sky, lit up the forest, bathing them in silvery light. So on they went. On they went through the night, and at some point they reached the edge of a clearing. There was a mound in the clearing, the Red Woman at the bottom, the beast up at the top. They looked up, and in an instant it turned back, and fountains of blood poured from the crescent moons, soaking the trees, soaking the leaves, soaking them, soaking the grass, and then on it went, and on they went after it. Through the bloody, muddy forest ground, the mulch and the murk. On they went all through that night, and in the early morning they reached the edge of a hill, and there stood the Red Woman. There was a doorway into the hill, no sign of the beast, and as the Fianna gathered around her, she said, well done, not bad at all." kept up with the beast, and so my life is saved, the lives of my sons are saved. And now it is time to feast. Come with me. And the door opened, showing a tunnel leading down into the hill. And from deep inside the hill, they could hear the faint sounds of music, of feasting, and surely this was a gathering of the Sidhe, of the Tuatha Dé Danann, of the fairy folk. But Finn said, we can't go to a feast looking like this. And they were drenched in blood, in mud, in sweat. They were a sorry sight to see. But the red woman, she took a red horn and she blew a soft note. And then from out of the tunnel through the door, there came 10 young men of the Sidhe, of the Tuatha Dé Danann. And she said to them, bring baths, bring fresh clothes for Finn McCool and his men. So they went away and they came back and they'd done just that. And there were steaming bathtubs, there were fresh clothes. The Fianna bathed, they put on the fresh clothes, and then, well, there was no problem then. So down into the hill they went, beneath soil and stone, until they came to this grand cavern, beautifully lit by burning torches against gleaming gold. And there were tables laid out, and on at the tables sat hundreds of men and women and young folk of the Tuatha Dé Danann. And they feasted, and they danced, and the Fianna joined them, and it went on for a time beyond time. Finn sat at the high seat, the high table, where the king and the red woman and some others of noble rank sat. And they talked and they laughed, and at some point the red woman, she turned to the king and she said, I think Finn and his men would like to see the beast. The king, ding ding ding, straight away the enormous hall fell silent, and then a doorway appeared in the wall. The door opened, and through it came the beast. It walked back and forth, and everyone there stared at it. And then it spoke. I am going now, it said. I am going over the sea to the land of my people. And I would like to wager one last hunt. I am the fastest being in all the worlds. Land and sea, they are the same to me. So follow me, hunt me to the edge of the water. See if any of you can keep up. And off it went, up that tunnel. And I hope you've gathered by now that the Fianna weren't the type of guys to turn down such an offer. They vaulted over the tables, the red woman came with them, and off they went. The hunt was on. And they chased it west, they chased it over Ireland, and Bran and Skoll and Finn's hounds were always ahead of the men, and they could see the beast up ahead. They'd come to the crest of a hill, and down it'd be in the valley. They'd go down into the valley, and it'd be up the next hill. On and on and on they went, and now they could hear the sound, the beating of the surf, and they thought they were going to lose their prey, but then the beast came to a thicket, and it had to move slowly through the thicket, and Bran and Skoll were in their element, racing through the undergrowth. Bran came up behind it, Skoll circled around, Skoll lunged at it, knocked it off its course, and then Bran lunged, and Bran tore out its throat. Finn and his men and the red woman arrives there not long afterwards to find Bran lying there, that satisfied look a dog has on her face in that moment. And there lay the beast, but it wasn't beast anymore. It was a man, blue skin, strange markings all over his naked skin, his naked body. And the red woman said to Finn, this isn't good. This isn't good. For that beast was no beast. He was the king of the Firbolgs, one of the races that lived in Ireland before the Tuatha Dé Danann came. His people will make war upon the Gaels for this. And so, I suggest, she took Finn's hand, I suggest that you come away with me. Come over the sea, come with me to Tir Nanog, land of the ever young, and live in peace and perfection and plenty and never grow old. Finn looked at her. He liked her. He liked her. He liked a woman who was strange, exciting, a little dangerous. But then he looked at his men, and he saw the fear in their eyes. For as wise a man as Finn was, it was always a woman. It was always love made full of him. And he, "Thank you," he said, "but I would not give up Ireland and the company of the Fianna if I was to get all the lands of the earth in exchange, and the country of the young along with them." And well, there was nothing she could say to that. So she turned and she left. She went over the sea, she went west, she went farther west and west. She went to Tir na Nog, and I wager she lives there even now. And Finn and his men, they returned to their hall, grateful for the hunt and the story they had to tell of it. And that's the story of Finn and the Red Woman. Thank you very much.